All right, folks, there we go. Apologize for those of you who are watching us live on YouTube. Had a little bit of an adventure, but want to thank Jocelyn and Caesar for working through. Thank all of you for joining us. This is College Council for San Diego City College. My name is Ricky Shabazz. I have the honor and privilege of being the president of our wonderful college. College Council is the highest level of governance at the college, where we bring together leaders of the various constituency groups that I am going to introduce momentarily. For those of you who are watching via YouTube, and those of you who are members of the constituency groups, College Council is an opportunity to discuss and provide updates. Being that we are in a pandemic, we are hosting these meetings virtually. It is a great opportunity for people to come in and work with the leaders of their respective groups. If there is something that you would like to talk about, you can bring it forth to College Council one of two ways, either emailing Aaron Flanagan in the president's office or myself, or working with the representatives that I am going to introduce now via our roll call. Paul Alexander, past president, Academic Senate.
Here.
Thanks, Paul. Tilly, and I believe that Jeannie is standing in for Tilly.
Yes, present.
Aaron Deddy is our administrative representative.
Present.
Robbie Yule, Chair, Institutional Technology Council.
Present.
Caesar Gabopoulos is our information officer.
Present.
Jocelyn Hill, Supervisory Rep.
Present.
Nadia is the past chair of the cabinet. I do not see Nadia today, no worries. Susan Murray is on vacation this week, well deserved. Victoria is our new ASG president.
Hi, present.
John Parker, vice president of administrative services.
Present.
Marciano, acting vice president of student services.
Present.
Sean is our president of the classified senate.
Present.
And Darius is our interim president of the academic senate.
Present.
Great. And so we normally introduce our new members. I somewhat did that during our roll call. I want to acknowledge that Victoria is our new student body president, and Aaron is our administrative representative. And then Darius is serving as the interim president of the academic senate. So welcome all of you to our new year of College Council. This is our first meeting of the new academic year, but want to thank those of you who have been with us throughout the summer, realizing that we needed to continue to meet because of COVID to keep everyone updated and apprised of things that are going on at the college. Again, this is the primary mode of communication to the campus of what's going on with COVID and other matters. We do have the Campus Ready meetings on Thursday at noon. For folks who have questions, it's a live question and answer period. We're doing the same thing on Fridays for students. I want to thank Luke, Genevieve, Caesar, Tilly Chavez, and all of the deans and supervisors and faculty who have come to provide updates. Again, the main communication about COVID and college matters is this meeting, College Council, followed by Thursday, City Ready, Campus Ready rather, and then Campus Ready for students on Friday. If anyone would like to bring forth any agenda items for College Council, you can work with individuals who I just introduced, or you can simply email the president's office. We'll gladly entertain an agenda item. Speaking of entertaining, if someone would like to make a motion for approval of the August 3rd meeting minutes, which was our last meeting, you should have received the meeting minutes in your email. If someone would make a motion, and I would also ask that for sake of those who are watching live on YouTube, if you would identify yourself when you make the motion, that would be most helpful.
Ricky, Robbie Yule, I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Robbie. We've got a first by Robbie. Would someone like to make a second motion?
This is Sean Ryan for second.
Sean out the gate beats Aaron Deddy for the second. All in favor, any further discussion? All in favor of approving the meeting minutes from, anyone would like to, well, all in favor indicate by the raising your hand or using the green, or raising your hand electronically. I'm sorry, I said green, I deviated. We normally raise your virtual hand or your actual hand. Would anyone like to abstain and or vote in opposition of approving the minutes? Hearing none, motion carries. And well, I would like to now turn it over to Jeannie to provide an update on enrollment.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Premier College Council for the fall semester. Seems like we've been at it for a bit, right, between planning and flex and bringing the classes back to campus that we did. Our fruits efforts, labors have paid off, and there's been some activity on campus. It's most welcome to see. Currently, our enrollment via the dashboard is we're about 83% full of those spaces that are available. And we do have late start classes that are still to come. So there is room. There's room for students to add a class. So make sure that we're all spreading the word there. And in comparison to this week last year, though, we're about 87% full. So we are down a bit, but not for lack of effort, right? As President Shabazz mentioned, we've been doing the Campus Ready Zoom webinars for students on Fridays. The welcome tents themselves are a wonderful addition to just having folks available as students are walking by trying to find their classes. And planning is still underway, right? Nobody has a crystal ball, so we don't know where this variant is going or where those numbers are going. So we are ever agile, flexible, and responsive to needs, whether we need to pivot and look at something on campus or whether we need to move in the other direction. Those are constant conversations and situations that our administration, faculty, staff, deans are always looking at, and all the while keeping everyone's health and safety in mind, to include your peace of mind. We certainly want that for everyone. So thank you all for your efforts with the start of this fall semester, and I'll turn it back over to President Shabazz.
Yeah, thank you, Jeannie. Any questions for Jeannie or about enrollment? I would add a couple of things and just extend, as Jeannie has already done, our sincere appreciation for every single person, whether you are working remotely or whether you are in person. You are making a difference in the lives of our students and our campus. And so thank you for your efforts. We are concerned about enrollment, not from a monetary standpoint. We're in hold harmless, so we're going to get compensated or revenue for enrollment. I want to be clear, we're concerned deeply about enrollment for the number of students who are leaving us. Those who haven't completed a degree, those who were here prior terms that are not here now. We hear that the students are very concerned about the Delta variant, as we all are. And so I want to say thank you to Luke and all the deans and the chairs and classified professionals, supervisors who are calling students, not to just get them here because of enrollment, but to get them here to have that City College experience so that they can stay on course with completing their degree. So when we talk about an enrollment update, every college just about on the planet is down enrollment. We are not down any more or less than any other college in the region. But when we talk about enrollment, we are doing our very best. Thank you, Caesar and Kim and Victor, to go after those students and supported them accomplishing something that they started. And so that's why we provide these updates. We're off about somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3,000 students, give or take, between now and years prior. We also know that there is a matter going on in the state where people are involved in fraudulent activities around what we'll call bot students. seeking additional financial aid because of HERF funds and stimulus funds. So we're also trying to reconcile where we actually were last year, because we know we were one of many colleges that had that challenge versus now. Jocelyn, I thought I saw a hand. I'm not sure if you had a question, but I would love to be able to.
I did have a question, but then you just answered it when you said the number of enrollment. So I wanted to know, could we access the dashboard to see our current numbers of enrollment? And is it broken down as far as who's continuing and who's brand new students? That just helps us plan in the counseling department.
Yes, and what I would ask Jocelyn, in this case, if you would email your dean can get that information from one of the vice presidents. And if you don't have access to the dashboard, your dean could work with someone from IT or Tilly's area to be able to get you that access. What I would also, Jeannie, ask is that I'm not sure, Jocelyn, if you are on the email distribution list for the weekly Monday updates that Tilly sends out. If you are not on that distribution list, again, work with your dean, but I'll ask Jeannie to follow up since she is serving in lieu of Tilly to make sure you're on that weekly update. Is there any other member of College Council that does not receive that weekly update that Tilly sends out every Monday who would like to be on it?
I'll put your name down.
Okay, we'll make sure you
Thank
get
you.
it. Very, very
Yeah.
useful information, Jocelyn, in terms of where we are. I was having a conversation with someone just last week about the movement of courses. Courses, particularly in this environment, are going from being in person to hybrid, from hybrid to in person, although we haven't really had any that went that direction. Most of them are going from being in person or hybrid to being entirely online. And Jeannie and I were just talking early that every faculty member actually put a clause in their syllabus. Thank you to the faculty members to say that we may have to pivot to online given the status of the variant and the virus. And so we're constantly assessing that on an hourly, daily, weekly basis. Any other questions about enrollment?
Thank you.
I want to offer some level of update and hopefully relief to the deans. And Jeannie, I didn't get a chance to update you about this, but Jocelyn, thank you for your question because it triggered me sharing that we're going to push out the schedule for spring a couple of weeks, right? Because folks, we need some more time to assess this Delta variant and the virus. So those of you who are listening, Jeannie, I'll ask you to get with Susan Toppin. She'll give you the exact date, but we decided today in Chancellor's Cabinet to push out the schedule run for spring at least till October. Hopefully that provides some level of relief. We hear those of you who are voicing some concerns, and we'll continue to take those things under advisement, but we're going to push out the schedule. We're having conversations right now as to whether we should even produce a hard schedule, because the moment you produce it, folks, it's outdated. So can we use available technologies? Now, that's not to say we won't print something. That's just to say what is the most effective thing to do with respect to the schedule during a pandemic. And I don't believe it's printing a hard schedule with hundreds of pages of classes that may or may not be in the modality. I also will go on record as saying, if we were to make the decision today, it would not be to be 100% in person in the spring. That in itself is a fallacy because we weren't 100% even before the pandemic, right? We've always had online classes. We've always had online remote support services. And so we hope to be able to have a more detailed conversation about what spring looks like in this period between now and October when the schedule is due to be produced. I hope that offers some level of relief for folks. Any questions before we move to the next agenda item? Hearing none, I'm going to turn it over to John Parker to provide an example of form stack and how we're having people communicate if they're coming on campus and tracking that information. John?
Yes, thank you, Ricky. I'll share my screen here. This is where the link from the form stack that I sent out a couple of weeks ago. Let me know, can you see?
And John, if you could start from the beginning of what form stack is, and let's just assume folks haven't been working with it as you have over the last several months.
Certainly, we'll do so. Just want to confirm that you can see it though. Good, all right, we're good. So form stack we created, if you may recall, the old process we did away with of emailing to the business offices, to Dean and myself, and we collect all of the requests and send it in an email to dispatch, facilities, grounds, custodial, and the police, our campus police, every evening for the following day. As we started returning to campus, it became a little cumbersome to track all of these requests, and we didn't have a perfect system for doing so. And in looking at FormStack, we already have a license with FormStack. It makes the process a little easier than tracking it manually via email request and then having to put all of those requests into a spreadsheet and then having to email that spreadsheet to the distribution list. So FormStack is just a simpler way. It's a third-party SaaS, service as a software, in which we can modify and tailor to our needs, in which we have done so. Thanks to Dan in helping in completing and editing this form stack. There have been several iterations. We've tried to work out all of the kinks, and I'll walk through the form, the latest iteration now, which was just revised as of a few minutes ago, actually, of the last revision. Some of these, I have these pre-populated, as you can see, because some of it is pretty self-explanatory with your name, email address, confirming the email address, your telephone number, your affiliation, and your department. Specifically for me, it's a T building, T160. If you're going to be accessing several buildings, please indicate as such on the second and third building. Do you have a key and alarm code for your building and or office? This is important, as we have been discovering many individuals do not, or individuals do have the key fobs that were somehow deactivated over the course of the last year and a half. Please, if you do not have a key or alarm code, or your fob is not working, send an email here to Dina in Business Services, and feel free to copy me. Elevator access, please indicate which building you will need the elevator access for. And here is where, select your dean, manager, or supervisor. I've received a few emails as well, not listing the dean, manager, or supervisor. Please continue if you're having any issues with the drop down. Send it to me. We'll have it edited. This will take a minute or two. For the schedules, I think this has probably been most confusing for some. I know the previous iteration indicated we could not enter a time prior to 8 o'clock or after 5 o'clock p.m. That has since been deleted. Also, previous iterations had clicking on respective days and having to input a time for each of those days. So we just removed the times. You can now still select the days. If you would like to indicate the times, if you have different days or different times for different days, it's optional whether you want to input in there, because it can be a little tedious having to go through each week for the term and putting in those different days. However, if you want to include it, again, it is optional. You can do a copy and paste as you would do in Word or Excel if it's going to be consistent for all of the weeks for the term, and you can paste them into each of these weeks. Again, please feel free to just put the days to save some time. If there are any special requests, please indicate as such. For instance, turning on AC. So we're receiving several AC requests as recent as yesterday. We'll have someone go in and do a temperature check and adjust the HVAC accordingly to ensure that your room or office is at a comfortable temperature. Once you have completed that for all of the weeks, I wish we did receive one request as well. Can we click on submit all or apply to all. If it's going to be the same schedule for every week for the term, we do not have that capability with this form. It probably can be done. It will take some SQL programming on the back end, but there's nothing that we can activate to make it easy. And it is very intuitive and a good question to be able to select all and have it apply to all of the weeks. But we do not have that capability. So please do go in and select at least the days of the weeks, times being optional, and submit the form. You may also save and resume later. If you don't know, say the second half of the term, what your schedule is going to be, it may change. Please feel free to come back, revisit it, and resume the input prior to submitting the form. Any questions that I can help answer in terms of the FormStack campus access request?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So this form is filled out by absolutely everyone, right? Classified professionals, supervisors, deans, managers, all the alike, right?
Yes, anyone who plans on being on campus, correct. Not if you're just online exclusively.
Right. So if someone said they wanted to access their office, they're not providing, say, direct service to students, but they just wanted to go on campus, maybe to retrieve something from their office, would they fill this out and just go to campus as normal?
Yes, that is a good question. They would. The approval process we did away with. This is just for contact tracing. Any event there is a positive COVID exposure or case on campus, we would have a log of that, but no approval is required. Just completing this form for that particular day. Say if it's someone that's remote, hypothetically, an instructor that's remote wants to come to campus for a day, it'll just be that day for that respective week that's listed on here. And no approval will be required.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And John, if you could stop sharing so I can see our wonderful members of College Council. Any other questions about how to submit the form? Hearing
If
none.
so, I'm sorry, if so, please continue to send them my way from your team members. They can send it to me directly or copy you, or you can send it to me as well.
Great. And I have a couple of other updates regarding COVID that I'm going to provide at the end. I did have our normal Tuesday meeting with our chancellor and district executive team, and we have some updates that I hope will be well received. As you would have with any updates, though, there will be some folks who have some concerns about those updates, but I'm going to provide them at the end of the meeting to keep with the agenda. Speaking of keeping with the agenda, wanted to provide an update on her funds. I walked the campus on Monday with Marciano to all of the student services offices, did something similar to as many instruction offices on Wednesday with Tilly. And we learned a lot of things, most of which are people who still need things that don't have them. And so I would ask you to work with your supervisor, work with your dean, work with your vice president to make sure that if you have a need for something like a camera or a computer or something that will help you serve our students, please reach out to your immediate supervisor, let them know. Folks, we have nearly $12 million that must be spent by, let's just call it the spring of 22. There's a little bit of funds that can go into 2023, but we want to make sure you have the things you need to be successful. And I say that because I walked into an office and one of our amazing classified professionals had a stand-up desk and double monitors and this amazing camera and headphones. And I was like, yes. And then she said she bought it herself. And it just sucked the life out of me that one of our amazing classified professionals had to spend their own money for something that we have the capacity to provide them. So we're going to make sure that person gets their money back. Now, John Parker would ask me to remind you that it's not a green light to go and buy something that you need. That is to say, please stay in contact with your supervisor, stay persistent if there's something that you need, that we're going to do our very best to make sure you get it. I have authorized John Parker and Robbie to seek alternative ways to get things here if our vendors are back ordered on things. Marciano went shopping over the weekend to make sure some of our classified professionals had things that they needed that have been back ordered. So we're seeking to limit the bureaucracies, work around the bureaucracies to get things in the hands of our classified professionals and faculty and supervisors and managers who need them. Let me turn it over to Marciano to talk specifically about the minority serving institution funds. Marciano?
Yeah, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to talk about that. So we have about, I think, almost $2 million in MSI funds that we need to expend. We've gone through, and Dr. Adan Sanchez is going to be pulling together the MSI work group to get together to think about how they want to allocate some portions of that money. There is definitely some things that I've submitted a proposal to exec that includes allocations to things like Hubu and Puente and Umoja, mental health, DSPS. There's some monies that are set in that aside for direct aid to students. So we'll be working with our financial aid team again to get money into the hands of students directly. There's also an opportunity for folks to apply for some MSI innovation grants. And I'll be sending out information shortly with the forms for folks to be able to do that. So all that to say is that we've got money, as Ricky has mentioned, we got to get it spent. And so if you have ideas for how we can spend some of this MSI money, again, it needs to impact students directly. There's some things that we can't use it for. So, I can't buy anything for your home office, but if it's going to impact students, if it's going to be something that's going to aid in helping to support our students during this remote environment that they're working in, we can support that. So please think outside the box for some of these things. Be creative. And I say there's no ask that's a bad ask. So I say ask, and then we'll see what we can do. And the committee will definitely be getting together to start thinking about how to spend some of this money.
Yeah, and that includes me meeting, Marciano and I meeting with Victoria and asking the student government to take this on, because I really would love to hear from students as well in terms of how they would like to see some of these funds, not only MSI funds, but her funds be spent in support of students. So I look forward to you, Victoria, bringing forth a proposal or ideas. You all represent, thousands of students who are impacted by this pandemic, and I want to make sure that we figure out a way to get resources in the hands of students that come from students. Any questions for to Marciano about the MSI funds? So what I have requested of Marciano is he's going to take his proposal to the MSI committee and the Student Services Council, and then it will come back here for a formal vote of approval or support that people can see it in advance of this meeting and raise any questions. But I'm excited. I saw it for the first time today, and I want to commend Marciano and all of those who worked on it. We really have a unique opportunity to impact the lives of some of our most disproportionately impacted students with these funds. So want to get it in the hands of our wonderful City College family members to then be able to use it to support students. Any questions about MSI funds? John, would you like to provide an update on the HER funds?
Are you wanting me to show the same summary that we reviewed previously?
Or just high level, the gist of having $12 million that needs to be spent in
Yeah, well, let me reinforce, Ricky, because it is a lot of money, as you mentioned. We have, now this is remaining out of about $15 million total I can't emphasize enough. We still have 12.3 million. We struggled spending $1.5 million in over a year, in about 15 months. And that was the HERFS 1 institutional and part of the HERFS 1 MSI Minority Serving Institute Fund. We have another $12 million, as Ricky alluded to, that some of it has to be spent by March, end of March, beginning of April, and some of it has to be spent by June of 2022. I'm not sure that we will receive an extension as we have with the MSI funds for any of those funds to roll over into fiscal year 23. As of today, I'm going to assume that we will not. So let us just get in our minds that it'll be June 2022 until we hear otherwise. And when we do, it probably won't be until June 2022 when we're notified that we have an extension. So please submit. I'll be sending out another communication, the fall administrative services communication, where I will include the PowerPoint deck that you've probably seen previously with allowable expenses for HERFS, the HERFS request fund. We have a revised MSI fund. Thank you to Marciano for including that in there as well. It's going to be the same policy in submitting the HERF request funds, even though the allocations have been approved. It's just an easier way for the deans and managers and all of us to track those expenses for reporting purposes to the Department of Education and our auditors as well. So please spend that money. I have seen, Ricky, as we mentioned earlier today, 2 or 3 dozen pass sheets come through, requests for electronic equipment, computers, laptops, COVID supplies, you name it. That is only about $1 million. So let's say we have about $11 million remaining with less than a year, maybe 10 months to spend that. Guys, please send me questions. I continue to receive questions almost on a daily basis. If I don't get to them in a timely manner, please text me or have your dean or VP send me an email. I do try to be responsive to those HERF requests.
Yeah, I'm going to say that, and many of you have heard me say this before, email is maybe the quickest way to communicate. It's not the most effective way to communicate. Well, why am I saying that? If we were all on campus, which we know we're not, and it wouldn't be a smart thing for all of us to be on campus right now at the same time, you'd have the luxury of walking to John Parker's office or walking to Marciano's office. Pick up the phone, folks. If you send an email and the person doesn't respond, pick up the phone. Say, John Parker, I sent you a couple emails and you said you need to spend this money. But before you do that, make sure you reach out to your supervisor and that your supervisor is on board. I'll give you an example of things we talked about earlier today is bringing in a videographer. I asked Caesar, you know what, hire a videographer. We need to, really ramp up our communication via video. We probably need to bring in someone, and I chatted with Marciano, and we'll determine whether this person should be in Dottie's office or another office, but someone to help us with contract tracing. We do have some cases. We believe it's isolated to a particular area, and we don't believe that it's a huge exposure. We had cases in the spring. We've had cases. We haven't had a single case as of yet that is to be at a heightened level of concern. We know you can get cases by going anywhere, but we need someone to help us with contract tracing. So we probably need to bring in a NANS to help us with that. Folks, if you have a need, please bring it forth. We want to make sure we get those resources in the hands of those who are on the front lines of working with our wonderful students. Questions? I am going to table the hiring because I'd like to show a document. We need to do a tad bit more research. The gist of it is we are hiring. And those of you who have been author, oh, no, what? You know what? Jeannie has a document. Jeannie, let's show the document for instruction. And the floor is yours, Jeannie.
Okay, thank you. So real quickly, and this is draft, but it's all pretty much finalized and information pretty accurate, but we recognize we have a couple more groups that we need to talk to and share with. So first, staffing update. These listed here are all recruitments are in process, with the position being out there right now, accepting applications. Interviews pending are, of course, VPSS. Thank you, Marciano, for stepping up and sharing your time and talent as the acting VPSS. Dean of Health and Exercise Science, Dean of Behavioral Social Science and Consumer Family Studies, and then, of course, Dean of Math Sciences Nursing. Associate Dean of Strong Workforce, that's in the works and will be posted soon, so I need to correct myself on that information. Photography instructor, please send your friends and your best photographers forward. We are gladly accepting applications for contract faculty in photography. Nursing, the same. They're given a little more time for some applications. And then, of course, counselor under the student services divisions. There is some work to do and some information to figure out. We think we got a plan. Not we think, we know. So we had the chairs and deans all together right at the beginning of Flex Week, the Monday of Flex Week. We had a Chairs Academy, but it's pretty much the same body as the Instructional Services Council. So again, chairs and deans meeting with the VPI and some other leadership. So there are two current vacancies. One is due to a retirement in mathematics. The other is because Dr. D. Armstrong was promoted to our Associate Dean of Nursing, so that left a faculty vacancy. So the recommendation right now, after talking with that at Chairs Academy, is that we go by the current established list. And so the recommendation is to go out for a psychology instructor and then a general biology instructor. Great news is that there are more positions on their way, and that is that we have 4 faculty positions coming to San Diego City College. Those aren't replacements, those are new positions. So as I just referenced, we do have an established faculty prioritization list that is in effect up to this fall semester. And after talking with chairs, deans again, it's recognized that the list could use a little updating, right? But that is a participatory shared governance process, and there's some work to do there. That's the work I referenced. But in the meantime, there are 2 faculty positions that we could launch this fall, interview for, and have them start in the spring. So there are some recommendations on the table right now that would be offered to cosmetology and machine technology. Then if we can work quickly, and I'm going to change that 3 to a 2, we could work quickly and get that list updated, then we would have the new list in effect for the remaining 2 positions. And some thoughts on what is needed, right? These aren't incorporated into the list at this time, but some thought on what is needed is most certainly the professional development coordinator, faculty position. Nursing has taken a big hit, and it's going to catch up to them sooner or later. Business, Nancy Fredericks retired, and so she'll be very missed, particularly by all the students that registered for her courses, and then student health. So good news, good problems to have, right, when we can hire faculty. And but like I mentioned, a lot of stuff in the pipeline, and then some work to be done. If that's okay.
Yes, thank you, Jeannie. Very well done. If you could unshare, and I know someone's going to inquire about classified professionals and supervisors. Let me say this was the instructional list based on the instructional prioritization, being that $2.9 million was given to the district. And so our allocation, I mentioned in convocation, was going to be somewhere between 4 and 5. That number is now steadfast at 4 positions. And so we are going to go through our hiring prioritization process. And that is what Jeannie went over. Marciano is going to present next College Council on the positions in student services. I can tell you we've been in conversation, as I mentioned in convocation, about a tech position for our equity programs. We're still analyzing the equity budget to ensure we could do that. We did move one of our amazing classified professionals over to fill the void, much needed position in student services already. So we're looking at hiring, and what I've requested the vice presidents to do is to bring a list of prioritization of all of the positions that they need or desire, knowing that the 50% law is such that half of the college's budget must be spent on instruction. And unfortunately, we don't have that same liberty with classified professionals unless they're a lab tech or something supporting instruction. Of course, the whole college, I don't even feel right saying that. The whole college supports instruction and student services, but these are the rules and the bureaucracy set forth, the ed code set forth by the state, not Ricky Shabazz. If we could hire more classified professionals, certainly we would. If we could hire more counselors, certainly we would. But unfortunately, there's that thing called the 50% law. And in fact, the mental health counselor, which is greatly needed, is on the quote unquote, I don't even like saying wrong side of the 50% law, which I could say it a better way. But it is not an instructional faculty member in that they don't teach. They're a non-instructional faculty member. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Any questions about hiring? Hearing none, what I hope to do in the coming college councils meetings is carve out one of our college council meetings to bring in a consultant to help this group develop some goals for the entire year. I had expected to do this over the summer, but with all of these changes with COVID, a lot of us are drinking out of a water hose, trying to keep things afloat. And so we didn't get to do much planning in the sense of future planning. We're really addressing the needs that are in front of us right now. But from an accreditation lens, we do need to develop some goals for this group, as all of the committees on the campus should be doing so in terms of what do we want to accomplish. So I'll be coming back to you all with that in the coming meetings so we can carve out one of these meetings to develop some goals, hopefully early on. If you would like to see a presentation of a program, a department, please let us know. If the members of College Council thinks, if you all have ideas of what we should present for your constituency groups, we would love to be able to do so. There's some important dates in terms of the campus board meeting. We'll have an update in the next meeting. We'll send that to the campus. The vice presidents have come up with a great group of programs, departments to highlight city pride and our work around equity, social justice. You have the Chancellor's Forum and the ACT conference, a number of things coming up. Before I conclude the meeting, are there any updates from the members of College Council for the good of the order? I know, Aaron, we have a new basketball coach. I saw that on social media.
Yes, we'd love to welcome Coach Andy Ground. He'll be our interim one-year head men's basketball coach. Looking forward to a great year.
Yeah, and congratulations to Coach Mitch Charlins for his great professional development opportunity to go spend a year with the University of San Diego Division I basketball team. I know that's going to be an excellent opportunity for him to bring some of those skills back and continue to help our student athletes succeed both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. In the meantime, thank you, Aaron, for identifying someone to serve in an interim role to continue to support our athletes here at San Diego City College. Any other updates that you all may have? Jocelyn.
I just really want to say thank you, Dr. Shabazz, for your advocacy, and all of College Council and our City College family for getting evaluations person to sit on our campus to do the heavy lifting as far as making sure student petitions are processed. I really just want to publicly say thank you to everyone because I know it was a team effort and I know you led the charge. So I'm just really so thankful that we're going to have that additional support, and just giving a shout out to the two folks that have been supporting this role, which is Abdul Sharif and Nazarene Raphael. They're classified professionals that have stepped in. And I just really want to say thank you to them. And I look forward to Patricia coming on board and just really to be able to outreach more to the classroom so they can know the process for evaluations, how students can submit their petitions. And I know everyone's waiting to get their certificate of performance. So we have more things to share and to come, and have an opportunity just to share with the whole campus how that process really works. So I look forward to having that opportunity.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jocelyn, and thank you for your advocacy, and kudos to Patricia. You look up team player in the dictionary, you'll see a picture of Patricia, who is a model City College member, family member. So I'm glad we were able to put her, place her in an area of great need for student success on our campus. And again, you know, Jocelyn, if you could send me the names of those two other classified professionals who've been filling in for that void, I'd love to personally thank them for their service on behalf of our college. Speaking on behalf of our college, I requested that Caesar put into the YouTube chat 2 articles that I would encourage people to read. We're getting a lot of requests for plexiglass, and I've opened up the opportunity for John Parker to give anyone who's requesting plexiglass. I had a very interesting conversation with one of our wonderful classified professionals, because all of the available science actually says we shouldn't be using plexiglass. And there's an article you can read and determine for yourself. But I was having a conversation with one of our wonderful classified professionals who says, look, this is not about the virus in itself. This is about my personal space. I want to be able to have some level of safety and assurity that I'll have my personal space. And it made sense to me. And so we missed that in the first go around with these plexiglass. Is we were using the feedback we were getting from the science community that says the most important thing with the virus is airflow and filtration. And we know we have world-class airflow and filtration. But what we didn't account for, to the degree that we are now accounting for, was that people would maybe want plexiglass just to have some level of separation between them and the wonderful people who are coming in needing our support. And so we are doing our very best. Now, some folks are requesting plexiglass from the ceiling to the floor. I'm not exactly sure we can accommodate that, but we'll do our very best. If folks want separation between them, you know, that social distancing is absolutely important. Wearing masks is absolutely important. We're willing to continue to work with folks who want to have conversations about what does social distancing look like. The other thing I will say is there will be a communication coming out from the district. We are a great college and an even greater district, working with wonderful colleagues across now 4 colleges, right? The College of Continuing Education. And so we have a great relationship with our union, the AFT, but know when we have conversations about bringing people who have not been on campus back, those decisions ultimately are negotiated between the employee groups and the district. I have the ability to give input on what I believe will help city, but the challenge in an environment where there are employee groups who represent, let's call it 4 very different colleges, you try to come to a middle ground that fits everyone. Certainly there are going to be those who agree, and there are going to be those who disagree, particularly in a pandemic where this matter has been politicized at a level that makes me uncomfortable. Well, what am I trying to say? Many of us were noticed to return to campus for 2 days a week, possibly going up to 4 days a week in the not so near future. I expect the communication to come out for the district that we've reconsidered the number of days to not go up to 4 days and to continue for 2 days until we could better assess the way things are going to look. There's been a very lively discussion about counseling. And when I say counseling, let me acknowledge the great work of our counselors, our wonderful counselors, many of which have been on campus throughout this pandemic, helping with food drives, helping deliver laptops, driving to students' homes. And so those who have concerns about counseling, let me say, I don't have concerns about our wonderful counselors. This is the best group of counselors that I've ever worked with in my entire career. But there is a need to have their leadership on campus. So Marciana will be working with the dean and the chair to get out a communication as to what does that look like for the counselors who have not been on campus, because many have. And so look for that communication to come out first from the district, second from the vice president. We'll continue to work with those folks who have concerns or reservations, but we must get back to campus because that's how our college was intended to be run. With that said, folks, it's good to see you all. That concludes our college council meeting. We will see you all again in 2 weeks, and I hope to see you on campus and continue to do this wonderful job of serving our students. Take care, everyone.